Leo, you did it. Get ready to receive a shocking amount of money. This is your spiritual payback, and it's happening now. Not because you got lucky. Not because someone finally noticed you. But because the universe has ruled in your favor. Every sleepless night, every silent heartbreak, every moment you chose to believe when you had no evidence has been accounted for. The verdict has been issued in the unseen realm, and the blessing is now making its way into the physical. You're not watching this by chance. There are no coincidences when it comes to cosmic alignment. If this video has found you, it's because your frequency has finally matched the payout that's been waiting in energetic escrow for far too long. Right now, divine forces are recalibrating your reality. And Leo, you're at the center of that shift. The sky has moved in your favor. Jupiter, the planet of expansion and spiritual reward, is activating your sign. A full moon is casting light not just on your path, but on every injustice that tried to silence your roar. For too long, your light was borrowed by those who never earned it. Your ideas, your energy, your grace under pressure they took from you in secret. And you kept shining. You were the power source they tried to siphon. But now, the supply is being cut off from the man returned to you with interest. The universe doesn't overlook lions. It observes. It remembers. And now, it restores. There is a financial release on its way to you, and it's not coming through traditional channels. This isn't a paycheck. This isn't a raise. It's a spiritual transaction, a divine wire transfer drawn from everything that was taken from you energetically, emotionally, financially, and even generationally. You may have already felt the signs. Strange peace without explanation. An inner knowing that something big is coming. Repeating numbers like 777 or 888. A dream that felt more like a message than imagination. That's not fantasy. That's confirmation. This moment was foretold, not in a book or oracle deck, but in the story your soul wrote before you ever came here. You've stayed the course. You've remained true. And now, the rewards are not only justified, theory overdue. Take a moment to recognize what's happening. You are not behind. You are right on time. And this message is not a prediction, it's a recognition of who you've already become. I want to thank you, truly, for being here. Your presence, your energy, and your willingness to seek alignment make this space possible. Every like, every comment, every subscription deepens our connection in this spiritual journey. And yes, this is more than a video. It's a sacred container for activation. If this message resonates, comment below to confirm it. Type 777 as your signature. It's more than just numbers, it's a declaration to the universe. I'm ready to receive. I accept my divine compensation. And trust me, Leo, you'll want to stay with me until the very last moment today, because what's about to unfold is bigger than money. It's your legacy. Your roar is rising, and so is your reward. Let's begin. You've always been seen as the strong one, Leo. The radiant soul who walks into the room and shifts the energy without saying a word. The one who carries the weight of others' expectations while hiding the private bruises of spiritual battles no one else could see. But what happens when your strength gets mistaken for endless supply? When your light becomes the fuel others secretly steal to power their own progress, while you quietly fade into exhaustion, wondering if anyone truly sees you? This is not just a poetic reflection, it's a real energetic dynamic. As someone deeply tuned into cosmic law and the emotional architecture of the zodiac, I want you to understand, what was taken from you didn't disappear into a void. The universe is not a careless observer. It keeps perfect records, energetic ledgers more precise than any human bookkeeping. And Leo, your name is written at the top of a case file in a divine court, one that has just closed in your favor. When your creativity was copied, when your passion was muted, when your leadership was minimized and your intuition questioned, those were not forgettable moments. They were transactions. Subtle, invisible withdrawals from your soul's account. People borrowed your brilliance, leaned on your fire, even wore your confidence like a mask, and yet, somehow made you feel like you were too much. Or worse, not enough. But here's the truth. You didn't fail. You were being watched. Not judged, but observed. Every time you chose integrity over performance, you testified. Every time you let others win arguments to keep the peace, you accumulated spiritual interest. You thought you were being bypassed, but the universe was simply waiting for the case to mature. Because you weren't being punished, Leo. You were being documented. The Strength card in Tarot, your card, reminds us that true power is silent, internal, and divine. It's the lion tamed not through force, but through unwavering inner grace. And now, paired with the Justice card, it tells a bigger story. Cosmic justice doesn't move on human time. It builds quietly, like pressure beneath the earth, until it releases in a flood so exact, it feels both miraculous and inevitable. It's no accident that your ruling color Leo gold symbolizes not just royalty, but divine restoration. That color is re-entering your aura now. The brightness that was dimmed is being relit. And it's not the same light. It's refined. It's resilient. It no longer needs validation because it's now backed by spiritual credit. You're not reclaiming what you lost. You're collecting what you earned. We live in a world that idolizes productivity but undervalues emotional endurance. Yet emotional labor, the kind where you keep loving while being overlooked, keep creating while being copied, is sacred. And like faith, it grows strongest in silence. This is the kind of endurance that sacred texts speak of, not always explicitly, but deeply. Like the quiet strength of David before Goliath. The humble fire of Moses, overlooked before he was called. The long night of Gethsemane. Not everyone will understand this language, but your soul does. And so now, the refund is being issued. Not as vengeance, but as balance. Your spiritual account has reached its release date. The quiet battles you fought were never forgotten. The weight you carried in secret is now being lifted. Not just by hope but by recompense. So breathe, Leo. Let that golden light return to your chest. This is not your ego reclaiming glory. This is your spirit rising to its rightful stature. Comment below to confirm this truth, to say, I remember who I am. Type 777 if you're ready to let the universe pay you back, not for what you wanted but for what you endured with love, silence, and strength. And now, let's continue. Because the ledger isn't just being balanced. It's being broken open. Every tear you've ever shed, every silent night you endured alone, every moment you chose to rise instead of collapse, these were never losses. They were deposits. Invisible to the eyes of the world, yes. But seen and recorded in the deepest structures of your energetic field. Pain, in the realm of spiritual growth, is not a sign of weakness, it's an encoded form of wealth. Not because suffering is inherently valuable, but because of what you did with it. How you transmuted it. How you held it with grace, even when it burned through the core of who you thought you were. In astrology, we often view Saturn as the strict teacher, harsh, slow-moving, seemingly unkind. But Saturn is also the ruler of karmic investment. When Saturn moves retrograde, especially through key points in your birth chart, it pulls you inward and demands a reckoning. It brings up old wounds not to punish, but to measure. To witness. And once the lesson has crystallized in your bones, not just intellectually but emotionally, Saturn offers a reward. Not instantly, and not through luck, but through earned alignment. And Leo, for you, this retrograde has now passed. The gate is open. What that means, energetically, is that the emotional labor you've carried mostly in silence, mostly unseen, is no longer dormant. It's being converted. You may feel this as a sudden lightness in the chest, or as a dream that won't let go. You may experience synchronicities that feel too precise, or notice old grief surfacing one last time before dissolving. These are not glitches. They are signals that your frequency is no longer a match for suffering, but for restoration. Energetic psychology teaches us that emotions, when not metabolized, crystallize. They become stored tension, digestive blocks, insomnia, or chronic fatigue. But when we give space to our pain without self-judgment, when we allow ourselves to feel fully and honestly, those same emotions release their grip and become power. Potential. Prosperity. And while the world may dismiss emotional sensitivity as fragility, the truth is this: you've been quietly accumulating the most stable form of spiritual currency. Resilience with an open heart. Imagine every heartbreak as a gold coin dropped into a vault. Not one of punishment, but of preservation. That vault is now being unlocked. Not by someone else's permission, but by your own transformation. You didn't need to earn more approval, or prove your worth. You needed only to endure long enough for the timeline to catch up to who you've become. And now that it has, the release begins. This isn't just metaphor. It's reflected in the body, the nervous system, the subtle field around you. You might start receiving unexpected offers. People you haven't heard from in years may reappear, not to reopen wounds, but because you've shifted, and your energy calls for closure. You might suddenly feel the urge to clean your home, revisit an old notebook, or make an intuitive financial decision that feels irrationally right. All of these are evidence that what was once locked in emotional form is now being transmuted into tangible return. There's an ancient saying that still rings true in modern energetic practice: the pain you transform becomes the power you hold. And Leo, you have held so much. Not with bitterness, but with bravery. Not with ego, but with quiet strength. Now, finally, the weight you've carried becomes the reward you receive. Not as a gift, but as a result. The time of emotional accounting is over. And the abundance stored through your suffering is now converting into material blessings, because the universe doesn't forget what you did in the dark when no one was clapping. It remembers. And it repays. You've reached a point in your journey, Leo, where the frequency you emit no longer mirrors struggle, it mirrors sovereignty. The abundance you're stepping into isn't arriving because you begged the universe or outworked everyone else. It's arriving because your internal vibration now matches the energetic signature of wealth. And in the language of the cosmos, frequency is identity. You didn't chase this. You became it. The transformational period you just walked through, what may have felt like abandonment, restriction, or emotional isolation, was never meant to punish you. It was a sacred quarantine. A deliberate separation between you and the distractions, the leaks, and the external noise that once siphoned your power. That quiet wasn't emptiness. It was recalibration. You were being unplugged from a grid built on fear and dependency, and reprogrammed to run on your own intuitive software. This was your soul's system update. Astrologically, this shift parallels what we see when the sun, the card that represents you in the tarot, emerges after the moon. It symbolizes clarity after confusion, embodiment after illusion. You've moved from operating in reactive survival mode to living in conscious creation mode. And with that comes a profound truth: abundance doesn't follow effort, allanite follows alignment. Through the lens of the law of attraction, this is where the dynamic flips. You're no longer attracting wealth like a magnet trying to pull something external in. You are the wealth. You become the generator of the frequency. That's why things that once felt unreachable will now show up with ease, not because you're manipulating outcomes, but because you become a clear channel for them to flow through. You stopped asking for validation and started embodying your truth. Even your energy field knows the difference now. The people, opportunities, and environments that used to drain you no longer have access. It's not resistance, it's resonance. They simply can't find you on your new wavelength. And this shift isn't just energetic. It's physical. You may feel it in your body, a new steadiness in your breath, a warm pulse in your hands, a subtle smile that comes without cause. That's not a mood. That's your nervous system syncing with abundance. Color and numerology reflect this phase beautifully. The deep burnt orange symbolizing renewal, power, and unapologetic creativity is returning to your aura. You are a fire sign, after all. And the number 1, the vibration of initiation and divine independence, is active in your life now. It signals not only new beginnings, but that you are the beginning. Nothing moves without your yes. This is a time to consciously support the frequency you've claimed. Small rituals matter. I encourage you to spend 11 minutes each morning in stillness, not to ask, but to align. Repeat the affirmation aloud or in your heart: I am the magnetic field of prosperity. I do not beg, I receive. The point isn't to trick your mind. The point is to allow your body and spirit to register the new default. Abundance is natural. Scarcity was the illusion. We often think the breakthrough happens when something finally arrives. But in reality, the true breakthrough is when you stop waiting and realize the EV already arrived. Leo, you are no longer waiting for life to give you something. Life is waiting for you to recognize that you already carry the code. Your frequency has leveled up. And now, money flows not because you need it, but because you've become a safe, clear, empowered place for it to land. There comes a moment in every soul's journey where justice no longer looks like confrontation, but like distance. After everything you've carried, Leo, and everything you've outgrown, this is that moment for you. What you're witnessing now isn't punishment falling on others, it's balance being restored. It may look like chaos entering the lives of people who once seemed untouched by consequence, but what's really happening is the energetic scale settling back into its rightful position. You're not the one pushing it. You're simply no longer holding it up for them. The ones who borrowed your energy, manipulated your kindness, or stood silently by when you needed support, they are now facing the fallout of their own choices. You didn't curse them. You didn't wish them harm. You simply stopped giving. And in that energetic release, their foundation, which was quietly built on your generosity, begins to collapse. That collapse may look sudden to them, but to the universe, it's long overdue. The Tower card in the tarot symbolizes this precise kind of reckoning. It doesn't come to punish, but to reveal. When we ignore the truth for too long, when we build structures on false pretenses or stolen light, eventually, something cracks. And when the Tower falls, it exposes everything that was hidden beneath. For many of the people in your past, Leo, this is that season. Their charisma fades. Their relationships fray. Their success starts to feel hollow or vanish altogether. And most painfully, the image they built for the world can no longer protect them from the truth of who they are inside. What's crucial to understand now is this: their downfall is not your responsibility. Their return to you is not an invitation. When they show up again, and they will, it won't be because they've changed. It will be because they've lost access to the energy they once took for granted. Their apologies may sound sincere, but listen closely. Are they rooted in accountability, or in lack? Are they moved by regret, or by need? Energetically, this is where your vibration becomes your boundary. According to the law of attraction, when your frequency rises above fear, resentment, or guilt, those who still operate within those vibrations can no longer maintain a foothold in your field. You don't need to block them out. They simply can't find resonance. It's like speaking two different languages. There's nothing to argue about, because there's no mutual signal to lock into anymore. And still, it's okay to feel the sadness of that distance. Forgiveness does not mean reconnection. Release does not require reunion. You've worked too hard to realign your energy to invite back the very patterns that once drained you. Your silence now is not weakness, it is wisdom. It's what allows you to walk forward without carrying what isn't yours anymore. In the healing world, we often talk about patterns that repeat until we choose differently. And Leo, you've chosen differently. You've stepped out of the loop. You are no longer a vibrational match for manipulation, false flattery, or spiritual debt. You've cleared the ledger, not with revenge but with growth. This part of your journey may feel lonely at first. When you stop being the source of everyone else's supply, things quiet down. But in that quiet, something miraculous begins to take form: peace, clarity, true, reciprocal connection. Not based on need, but on truth. If you feel tempted to re-engage out of empathy or nostalgia, remember this: you are the one who got out. You are the one who faced the storm and walked out of the fire purified. Don't step back into the ashes thinking you can rebuild what was never real to begin with. You are being protected. Not because you're fragile, but because you're powerful. Let those who built their towers on your light face their own shadows now. Let the storm pass through their lives without you trying to fix it. You're not the savior. You're the survivor. And now, you're the sovereign. Sometimes the most profound miracles don't arrive with fireworks, they slip in through the quietest cracks. Leo, you've done the deep inner work. You've walked through emotional deserts, climbed energetic mountains, and now, what's flowing toward you defies traditional logic. It's not just about checks in the mail or bonuses at work, it's about unexpected sources revealing themselves as if they were always meant to be part of your destiny. These financial blessings may come from what once seemed dormant, dismissed, or entirely forgotten. And that's exactly how the universe intended it. You see, when your conscious mind has been programmed for struggle, even abundance can feel threatening. It triggers questions like, do I deserve this? Or, what do I owe in return? That's why the universe often uses unconventional pathways to deliver what you're finally aligned to receive. Not to confuse you, but to bypass your resistance. Because when something arrives, by surprise, your mind doesn't fight it. It simply opens. And in that openness, you allow yourself to receive without shame, guilt, or second-guessing. This is the art of invisible alignment, receiving what your soul has been calling in all along. In numerology, this flow is represented by the sacred 7 and the infinite 8. 7 is the number of inner knowing, of unseen realms and divine timing. It whispers rather than shouts. 8, on the other hand, is the vibration of material mastery and cyclical abundance. Put together, these numbers point to a spiritual economy where nothing is wasted, and everything finds its way back in elevated form. And Leo, you are now vibrating at the intersection of those two frequencies. That's why you may start to notice strange synchronicities, a forgotten crypto account resurfacing with unexpected value. A dream that nudges you to follow up on an old idea. A thrift store purchase revealing itself as priceless. These aren't coincidences, they're confirmation. The universe is accessing your multidimensional vault of good karma, of spiritual equity, and now, it's delivering the yield. And the method is brilliant. By using what seems random or serendipitous, the universe is bypassing the parts of your psyche that are still deprogramming scarcity. This is why your intuition matters more than ever right now. The messages aren't coming with labels or logic, theory arriving as nudges, whispers, patterns. You might feel pulled to turn down a street you never drive, pick up a book you've read before, or reconnect with someone from years ago. Follow it. Each of these urges is a breadcrumb, a coded GPS signal from your higher self guiding you to where the abundance is hiding in plain sight. To help you stay connected to this channel of divine intelligence, I encourage you to begin a 7-day intuition journal. Each day, write down every random thought, sign, or internal pull you experience, no matter how small or silly it seems. A number that keeps repeating. A word that catches your eye. A song that moves something in you. These are not empty moments. They are encrypted messages carrying energetic signatures of what you're ready to receive. And the act of noticing them amplifies their power. Remember, you're no longer chasing wealth, you've become a clear vessel for it. The old path of control, planning, and prediction has melted away, and what's left is far more powerful: surrender with direction, faith with discernment. You're being asked not to figure it out but to feel it in. And when the unexpected arrives, and it will, then shrink. Don't explain it away. Smile. Nod. And say thank you. Because deep down, a part of you always knew this moment was coming. The map was etched into your spirit long before your mind ever caught up. Now, you're simply catching up to your own magic. If you've made it this far, Leo, take a deep breath, because what you're feeling right now isn't just resonance, it's recognition. You didn't just hear these words, you remembered them. Somewhere deep within, your soul already knew. You were never just someone hoping for change, you were always the guardian of a greater purpose. And now, that purpose is rising to meet you, not just in theory, but in tangible form. You're not here simply to receive money. You're here to steward divine wealth. The abundance flowing your way isn't a reward, it's an initiation. It's the universe saying, you're ready now. Ready to build. To guide. To lead. To heal. And to do it not from a place of proving your worth, but from a place of knowing you are the worth. This moment isn't about chasing more. It's about anchoring deeper. Your wealth is proof that the path you walked, the lonely nights, the painful lessons, the unwavering faith wasn't for nothing. Every skipped step, every slammed door, every no you had to endure was carving space for a bigger yes. And now, that yes is unfolding right before you. But here's the question I want to leave you with. What will you build from this? What will you create, now that you're no longer surviving, but truly living? Will you invest in your body, your first home? Will you nourish your nervous system with peace and boundaries? Will you take that vision you shelved years ago and bring it back to life, not as a fantasy, but as a mission? The treasure is in your hands now, but the legacy, that's what you're still writing. So tell me, Leo, what has this journey taught you about your own worth? What's the one thing you're ready to do now that you've finally been set free? Drop it in the comments. Let this be your declaration, your affirmation, your energetic contract with the universe. And if this message found you at just the right time, don't brush that off. You were meant to hear this. So I invite you, comment 777 below to declare your readiness. Like this video if it stirred something deep inside you. Subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness to stay connected to this collective of souls awakening to their true power. And one last invitation: let this video play again tomorrow morning. Let the energy of these words surround your day, shape your mindset, and unlock a new rhythm within you. Because this isn't the end. It's the beginning of your next chapter as the sovereign steward of the life you were always meant to live. Thank you, deeply, for sharing this space with me. Your presence here, your openness, your light, it all matters more than you know. I'll see you in the next message. Until then, stay open. Stay rooted. And above all, stay ready. Because the treasure isn't just coming. It's already yours.